this channel, and I just wanted to show you some of what I was doing for harvesting my potatoes. Today is June 18th, and I forget, I think I planted these in April, and you can see kind of what's going on here. These middle ones right here are dying off, and you can see these still have quite a bit of green, but the leaves, you can just see that, you know, they've got a bunch of brown spots on them. So I think this is pretty much just, you know, ready to harvest them all. And instead of letting them die down completely, I'm just going to go ahead and cut them all off. So while I'm doing that, I'm going to set my camera up over here, and I'm just going to start the process of harvesting these. Now, I am not actually going to be getting the potatoes out today. I mean, I can grab a few just to show you what they're looking like, but what I'm going to end up doing is cutting all the green, you know, this top green stuff off, and then I'm going to let the potatoes set in the ground for, I don't know how long, maybe a few days or so. That might be something I have to look up, but basically what's going on right now is the potatoes have a really soft skin on them. So I'll try to dig one up so I can show you what I mean. They have a really soft skin on it that you can just kind of wipe your finger over it, and it'll just kind of come off really easy. So from what I've quickly researched is that if you leave them in the ground for a little while, it's not getting nutrients anymore, and the potato will then start hardening the outside layer skin, and you know, that'll make it better for, you know, if you're sitting it for a little while, you want to have the skin on it, probably better for storage and everything. So let me just try finding a potato so we can show you what I mean. Okay, let me get up close. For anyone that's never grown potatoes, this is my second year growing, and I'm probably never not going to grow potatoes again. So let me just show you what's going on here. If you've never grown potatoes, so this was covered up, looked like that obviously, and then I was just moving around some dirt, and you just kind of figure out where they are. Oh, there's two of them there actually. So there's the potato, and you can see right there, I just swiped my finger across it and the skin came off. So what I'm going to do is end up leaving these in the ground, which I'll just take one out for demonstration. You know, there's one of them. These are just regular white potatoes, and so right there, that's what they're looking like. I planted these closer than I did last year, and I kind of assumed I'd be getting smaller ones, which is kind of nice, little small serving for like just fried potatoes or something. But yeah, so you can see here that because of instantly taking it out of the ground when you are wanting to harvest, that when you just wipe your finger on it like this, the skin, it immediately comes off. It's really thin, and that's because it's still connected to the plant. You know, it hasn't completely died off and stopped receiving nutrients, but I don't think they'd be growing a whole lot more than this anyways. So I'm going to cut all my greens off and then just leave all these potatoes in the ground so we can get the skin to kind of thicken up and protect itself better. So that's what I'm working on. You can see me going ahead and cutting the skin off. I mean, not cutting the skin off, but cutting all the greens off. And if you do any composting, this is obviously going to give you plenty of composting material, probably an overabundant amount of, you know, greens when you are trying to mix everything. But yeah, you could compost these, and I wish I had a really big compost pile. Maybe this will start me one and make one. But so there's one of my potatoes, and I'm just gonna cut all these greens off and just make a big pile on it. Now you can see here, I got this string here. So what that string is, I was sort of copying I've heard it called the California weave, and I've heard it called the Florida weave method for tomatoes. And that's where the string weaves in and out of tomatoes in between these posts to hold your tomatoes up. Well, because of how tall the potatoes get and they start dying off, I was just using this a little bit to try to contain them into my small raised bed space. And that's another point on growing potatoes. Raised beds are kind of a big, I don't know if you'd want to call it fad right now, but it's been a big thing in recent years. And if you're going to use a raised bed for anything, because part of my stuff is raised bed and part of it's not. If you're going to use a raised bed for anything, I would definitely recommend doing it for potatoes. I have sweet potatoes on the other side and then regular potatoes on this side. And when it comes time to harvest them, it definitely makes it a lot easier to kind of dig around in the raised bed than doing it, just in the ground. It's a little helpful. But yeah, so last year I immediately cut off all the tops, and then I immediately harvested them, and it did work fine. It was okay. There's not a ton of potatoes in here, so we did go through them relatively quickly. But I just wanted to try for this year, trying the method of cutting all the tops off, and then I don't know if I'll, might let them set in the ground for a week and try to get that skin on the potato to really thicken up and just protect itself better. Probably better for storage, inside the house, wherever you are going to store them, to have a thicker skin on it. So that's what I got going on with this. And if you have any questions about what I'm doing, I can't give you an answer, but it's not guaranteed to be a good answer because I'm definitely not an expert in gardening or anything. I just do the simple stuff, and I can always give you my opinion, but whether it's a good opinion or not, can't really say for sure. So what I did last year is I attempted, because it's we're halfway or just over halfway through June right now. So probably if I already had seed potatoes ready to go, I could do an immediate harvest of these and plant new seed potatoes in, and probably get a second harvest of potatoes in. What I tried doing last year was just replanting some of the potatoes I harvested from the bed, just left some in here, and they don't get going to the plant nearly as quickly as some seed potatoes that have already started getting the little sprout things on them. And so yeah, I'm not doing that again this year. So what I instead do is I also have sweet potatoes growing on the other bed. And when sweet potatoes grow, they vine out. They're something I've learned, they're part of the marigold family of flower, and sometimes they will have flowers on them, but they vine out and just keep continuing to grow out. Sorry. So when the sweet potato vine starts coming out of the raised bed, I just keep them clipped to stay in length with the raised bed. And those clippings I put in a thing of water to let the roots start going. And then once I get all these potatoes harvested, I just start putting more of the sweet potato vines in this bed, so then I can have even more sweet potatoes. So just trying to utilize my space in the best way possible to get the most amount that I can in the few months of summer, or 4 or 5 months of warmer weather for growing. So yeah, just trying to utilize the space as best as possible. I can't exactly understand what you're saying in that comment, but I don't know. Oh, oops. Just ripped the leaf of one of my squash plants. All right, let me show you. Let's move over here. Let's see. I'm just going to continue. Now this plant, it actually has some pretty thick, I don't know what you'd call it, stalks, or I don't exactly know what the term for that would be, but that's got some pretty hefty foliage that's grown from that potato, so it might have some good ones down there later. So this will be the step 1 that I'm doing for the potatoes, and then step 2 is going to be the harvest, maybe in a week when I take all the potatoes out. So if you want to see the harvesting of these potatoes, there will be a part 2 video. I'll just do another live video in harvesting them. From Indonesia, wow. It's a little ways from here. I am in Indiana, USA. So here's a unique fact about me, since you're commenting saying you're from Indonesia. I have not been to Indonesia, but I have been to Asia and Europe. I've actually been to 6 continents. The only one I've not been to is Antarctica, but I've not been to the Indonesian area. Let's see. Boy, some of these plants got pretty tall. All right. let me change up the camera angle a little bit just to give a different look at what I'm doing. That might be a little better side view. Obviously it's not a complicated thing that I'm doing right now, just cutting off all the tops of the potato plants. And I don't know, there might be, if I stop talking, some ASMR audio of doing this. I don't know, can you hear the birds chirping in the background right now? Also the dog in the background, but it's kind of peaceful in our backyard here sometimes with just all the birds going. Now, one thing that was happening, I have some pole beans on the other side of this trellis, or on the other side of this bed over here. And I think the sun from these potatoes was kind of blocking, the potato plants were kind of blocking the sun from the beans, so that's why I wanted to kind of get these cut off so it would give it more sun for longer. So I have, on this side I have just white potatoes. I don't think I did any russet, but just plain white potatoes. And then in a small section on the other end I have the Yukon Golds. We really love the Yukon Golds. Make really good fried potatoes, but you know, no crazy type of potatoes or anything. Just the basic stuff. All right, let's move this a little bit more. I'm just continuing to clear out all these. Oh, you said what plants do I put in my garden, not just potatoes. I read that wrong. So in my garden I have string beans, I have bush beans, sweet potatoes, regular potatoes, cucumbers, squash, zucchini, tomatoes, lettuce. I love growing my own lettuce. Trying some carrots. I've got carrots in another raised bed. That's another, helpful thing, because depending on your soil, to try to keep your soil soft in a raised bed. I got raised carrots over there. Raised bed with carrots in it. That's about the main plants. Oh, I got some peppers too. Just sweet snacking peppers. Those will, go in with anytime we're doing like a foil pack on the grill or, other stuff, just kind of frying some peppers in with it. All right, so we got about half of it done. Let me move this around to the other side. So, got just a little bit left. So let me give you a look at if you've never grown potatoes, okay? I'm not an expert, this is only my second year growing them, but if you've never grown them, I planted one seed potato, okay? So one seed potato shot off these, let's see, there's 3, 4, 5 off of this one. 5 little sprouts, and that comes up. Each of them come up to this piece right here. So that's the same case with all these potatoes. You can see here are these are the ones I cut off. There's 5 on that one. There's 4 of them. Each potato sprouts off multiples. Now here's something I need to watch out for since I'm letting these sit in the ground to try to get a better skin on them. This right here, if it's just left out, that's not going to be good with the sun being on it for a week. That'll probably end up turning green, and that is not good to eat from what I've read. I've never ate them, and I don't want to really test it out. There's another potato right there. So what I'm going to need to do is just make sure these have some dirt covering them to protect them, to make sure there's no exposed potatoes above the ground, because apparently when the sun hits an exposed potato, it starts turning it into like a poisonous something in the potato. Again, I'm not an expert, but that's the things I've read. If you want to see all the plants, there's the beans growing on the trellis. I have my sweet potatoes over in that other bed. And then I have beans, bush beans right here. And here's my squash and zucchini plants. And I have some more squash and zucchini coming in the middle. Just put seeds in a few days ago. Some pepper plants, tomato plants, cucumber trellis over on the other side. To me, it almost feels like it can be just a tiny little, not very big garden, but I like it too. I wish I had more space to grow more things, but just doing what I can right now. I mean, obviously I have a bigger yard. I could have a huge garden, but thank you for the compliment. All right, so I'm on the last plant, the last plant of the white potatoes. So I have all my white potato tops cut off. And you can see this board right here. I originally had this as a smaller bed, and then this year I added on all the way to this fence back here, this extra section, so I could have just a little more growing space. And this is where I separated doing regular white potatoes, and this back little space is Yukon Golds. And you can see this is what your potato, when it really starts dying off. Here's what it's looking like, the dead leaves on it. Obviously there was still a lot of green left on these plants here, but they are in that beginning stage of dying off, so I'm kind of starting it early, and because I want to be getting these potatoes cleared out here in a week, and then get my sweet potatoes started in here so I can get some more out of this raised bed. My house is just right over here. Here, I'll just rotate this real quick. You can see the house right there. Okay, got a little more left. My string getting in the way a little bit. There we go. Now I'll utilize this probably for something else. Okay. This bed has got a few more weeds in it. Okay. Looks like we got one more left. All right, so that's it. Yeah, you can see here we got several weeds in here, but we should still be all right. So now we're done here. So my next step is just looking over the whole area and looking for any potatoes that may be exposed. And I have a couple over here, and I thought I saw another one somewhere here. But let me show you those potatoes, because I think, well, it's not quite turning green. It may have had enough shade to protect it from the sun, but I need to get that covered up. So let's take this back off. So I have these two potatoes right here. And I think what I'm going to do is just bring some dirt and cover them up. Just make sure they're protected, because I don't want the sun on them too long. Okay, here's another one. There's a pretty decent sized potato right there. Wow. So you can see what it looks like. It's got an interesting growth right there, but I'm just going to take some extra dirt, cover it up, make sure the sun does not get to it. Just kind of pack in some of this loose soil here. I don't see any others. So let's check over here to make sure there's not any more sticking out of the ground. Doesn't look like it. I think we're pretty good. So yeah, I'm just gonna leave these potatoes in here for probably a week to let that skin get nice and solidified on the outside before I actually dig them up. And then here's the big bunch of foliage that we have left that would be really great to add to a big compost pile if I had one, but that's what we're looking at right now, and we got a lovely bunch of ants all over this, so that's wonderful for when I'm going to move this. Anyways, yeah, that's the part one of harvesting my potatoes, cutting out all the greens on top here. And my next step, I'll probably do part two live video in a week and showing digging up all the potatoes. So thanks for watching.